The purpose of my 30 years of work has been to clarify a question that has long preoccupied humanity. It is about the discovery of a new life and a new world for each of us. I entered this field as a skeptic, not believing that human existence after death continues, but under the pressure of facts I had to change my opinion. Having developed my own methodology and following its algorithms, I have time after time received the result, irrefutably confirming that the essence of man after death is preserved. This was stated at the end of his life by a prominent Soviet scientist, Doctor of Technical Sciences, Professor Vsevolod Zaprozets. For most of his life, this scientist was engaged in the development of methods of searching for mineral deposits. He wrote more than 70 scientific papers on geochemistry and nuclear geophysics. Like most Soviet scientists, Vsevolod Zaprozets was a materialist. He remained one until his wife died. After this event, the scientist decided to make his way to the other world. It was for this purpose that Vsevolod Zaprozets looked for people who had psychic abilities. The messages that it was possible to receive with their help were so personal that the scientist had no doubt that another world exists. Vsevolod Zaprozets claimed that all messages from the departed were received by clairvoyance with the help of a circle with letters. The scientist personally took notes of the received messages from the other world. Of course, most of this notebook was occupied by messages related to the deceased wife of Vsevolod Zaprozets and were of value only for the scientist. But there is also information in it which will be interesting to every person. In particular, these are the stories of the departed about what happens to our essence after the end of earthly life. During the end of the earthly life and from the beginning of the new life, all the departed experience certain experiences and observe certain phenomena. We have received information about the main stages of human transition to the new life. Based on the received information, we made up this sequence, explained Vsevolod Zaprozets. Having studied the messages received by clairvoyance, the scientist concluded that after death the departed often pass through a period of unconsciousness. At this time, their consciousness may be clouded, or the departed may be in complete oblivion, which can last from several days to several months. This period will be especially long for those who rejected posthumous existence in earthly life. It is not uncommon for those who have died in war to remain unconscious, since for some time many of them think that they continue to live. However, some of the departed testify that they do not have a period of unconsciousness. The next period described by Vsevolod Zaprozets is called the phase of the departed. In the course of 30 years of research, the scientist recorded in his outline many reports that the departed are often present at their funerals. They are usually happy when their farewell goes well. However, some of the departed expressed their opinion to Vsevolod Zaprozets that they do not need expensive funerals, and that they are not touched much by human concerns about the arrangement of monuments. Only good memory of the departed is of great value for them. The deceased shows interest in his burial only at the beginning. Thus, one of the participants of our experiments, with whom we managed to establish contact, told us what kind of stone should be used to make a tombstone for him and what to write on it. But the more time passes from the moment of death, the less the departed show interest in their burial places. They recommend their relatives not to visit these graves too often. It is enough to be here on holidays, and it is better to bring flowers not here, but leave them at home, at the portrait, Vsevolod Zaprozets remarked. After contemplation of one's body there follows a meeting with relatives. Once Vsevolod Zaprozets addressed to the departed a request to meet his friend, who was to die soon, on the other side. In response, the scientist received the following message: "You could not remind me of this. I am aware of it, and I come to meet everyone I once knew." In another experiment, a relative of one of the experimental participants suddenly appeared and said that she had seen his deceased uncle. "Greetings. I am Anna. You don't have to worry, I met Ivan. We were waiting for him. Along with me he was met by Ilya, Vladimir, and Nikolai. Ivan is still very tired. But don't worry, he'll be better here. Tell Natasha not to be so sad. Don't be sad either, he'll be fine here. His goodness exceeds all his faults. He has a bright soul." From the book The Contours of the Universe, another close to him added, "I'm Nikolai, I met my grandfather. Don't worry, you know that they live here, and our grandfather will live. All loved ones are reunited after death. Separation is possible only if there is a difference in spiritual development between the loved ones. We have met examples of this. I see my parents rarely. They live in another place. But still we met more examples when the departed live in large families uniting several generations. Ilya lives with his parents. I live with my son, and in general, we have a big family. I live with my mother. We have a family of 8 people." Those messages, which the scientist managed to receive, confirm that after the transition a person retains his individuality. Leaving the earthly life in old age or after a long illness, the departed person may still feel depressed and weak for some time. For example, we were informed by her departed relatives about the condition of a woman. In this case, we are talking about the wife of Vsevolod Zaprozets himself, who died of cancer. In the first time after her transition they said about her, "It is very hard for her. She seems very exhausted. It will be a long time before she regains her strength. She has to be alone now, she has to be. I can't take her in." The messages received a month later were different. "I visit her sometimes. She feels better than before, but it's still far from good. And after another 6 months, she is healthy and happy." These were the messages Vsevolod Zaprozets received. Those who have passed into the new life at a very advanced age say that they need time to take a breather from earthly life. Gradually they approach the age that is most pleasing to them. This is seen in a conversation with a woman who died at the age of 93. For months after the transition, a scientist asked this woman if she was young now. "No," the woman replied. "That's strange. Many people who have passed away say they have become young." The scientist continued in confusion. "It is so, it all depends on the state of mind," the woman informed him. After that, Vsevolod Zaprozets asked the departed what state of mind she had. The latter replied that she felt herself to be 57 years old. But a year later she said, "Now I am 36. I love this age." It should be said that during the first contacts with the departed, the scientist found out that all of them are constrained by the prohibition to pass on a whole range of information. At the same time, those living on the other side refer to some law, or evade a direct answer, saying, "As long as human feelings still live in us, there are many prohibitions for us. If you find out everything, it will be hard for everyone to live decently. Don't ask about our life, we are forbidden to talk about it." Based on these reports, Vsevolod Zaprozets came to the conclusion that there was an organized and guided society in the world of the departed. The scientist received confirmation of this when he was told, "We cannot talk to you without permission, you must ask, or you will be deprived of communication with us. it is forbidden to tell about it, it is forbidden to reveal it. Therefore, according to the scientist, he collected information about the structure of the netherworld and the conditions of life in it from random statements of the departed. As for the conditions of the otherworldly life, the departed of normal destiny described the panorama of the otherworld that opened before them as a bright picture. But on the lower planes it is different. Speaking of them, the departed note the duskiness and gloominess of their surroundings. It is cloudy, like a day, but there is no sun. We are like shadows in the fog. It's dreary. I live like in a bad dream. I feel bad here, I long for the earth. My life is a miserable one. I can't eat, I can't drink, I can't sleep. There are plenty of women, but what's the use? Life is miserable. People lie that it's better here. Gloomy are some reports of those who were deeply religious in earthly life and after death called themselves sinners and expected punishment. Life in the region opposite to the darkness is joyful and bright. Therefore, to those who have seen this area, the earthly world begins to seem like a descent into gloom and sadness. Vsevolod Zaporosts managed to receive such messages. Earthly life is a dark antechamber, a grey day for us, we have effulgence, light, you have greyness, lowliness. We have marvelous houses and nature, marvelous forests and flowers, we have very beautiful. Everything and everyone is beautiful here, we have nice people here, fun, interesting activities. I feel very well, all illnesses have passed. Everything earthly is duplicated here, but without ugliness and dark sides. The beauty of nature increases the further the departed rises above the darkness. By the way, we tried to find out what exactly is the source of light in the netherworld. In response, we received contradictory information. Some of the departed claim that the same sun shines in their world as in ours. Others say that the light comes from a spiritual sun. But there are also those who consider the source of light to be the inhabitants of the other world themselves. Our interlocutors said that in the other world it is always warm. They say that the weather is always clear, but for those who want rain, there are places where it rains all the time. Such details about the structure of the other world and conditions in it Vsevolod Zaporosts managed to get.